Hello and welcome to When Will It End? It's a horny podcast that's all about getting laid and seeing boobs. And this is, of course, our big episode. Everyone's been waiting for this one. We are a film podcast that covers the finest works of the cinematic canon. We've covered movies like RoboCop, a movie about a robot cop. It's very good. We've covered movies like Terminator, a movie about a robot murderer. Also very good. Now we've expanded our repertoire of commentary to one of the most beloved franchises in American history. I speak, of course, of American Pie. And yes, finally, Charles and I have dispensed with those irritating, "Ooh, it was released in a cinema" movies of the first three. And we're finally digging into the real, the grit and the juice of this horny series. I speak, of course, of the 4 direct-to-video American Pie Presents movies. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh, this last week I described a miniature Eugene Levy stabbing something. I don't remember. It was an uncorporeal thing, hoping for the essence to flow into a new body. I'm not going to fuck around, Josh.
Yeah.
This is my second favorite American Pie movie.
I love this already. I think this is objectively a fascinating film. I took an unbelievable amount of notes on this one, and I think this is one of those ones where we really have to dig into the notes and go through the movie chronologically, because at almost every twist and turn of American Pie Presents: Bandcamp, we are just so many questions about life are put before us as we experience the Stiffmeister 2.
Yeah. First question, why do you think they introduced that colon? I feel like American Pie Presents Bandcamp doesn't really need the colon.
I think, again, they knew that they were sitting on a gold mine with the American Pie cinematic universe. And they were like, let's set up the American Pie Presents : just to get that out of the way.
Okay.
Again, they made 4 of these, which is a treasure trove that we get to sift through, starting here with 2005's Bandcamp.
Yeah, it was, I think I read in the a trivia thing that this was supposed to be a standalone movie starring Sean William Scott. And this was supposed to be his Sharpay. And if anyone isn't subscribed to our Patreon, we did a whole episode on the spinoff for High School Musical starring Sharpay. And if you remember from last week, I really hated Sean William Scott's performance in 3. I didn't think it worked. And this is everything I would have wanted from a, hey, look, we're actually going to focus on Stifler this time. And this new kid, whoever his fucking name is, Okay,
well, hold on. This is the film that launched Tad Hilgenbrink's career. So let's show some respect to the Tad Hilgenbrink's name.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, Tad. Tad, you are a better Stifler than Stifler. And it's so, like, it just,
This is a wild take. I do not agree with you, but I obviously don't give a shit because we're talking about American Pie Presents Bandcamp. So consider me. I have front row tickets to what should be the most riveting show in podcast land this week. But Charles, I think we should, just in full honesty, reveal to our listeners how we actually met. We met at a horny podcasting camp.
Yeah.
And this one time at podcast camp, Charles was trying to get Randy video shots of the podcast counselors in the showers, and I was too afraid to talk to one of my fellow campers who was a goth. I was your Jewish roommate.
Yeah, you're saying that you're the little nerd that builds robots, and I'm the Stiffmeister?
Yeah, I'm friggin' Ernie Misplickaplix. Let me see, Ernie Kaplowitz. Of course, played on the screen by the great Jason Earls.
So great.
Who you may know as Rudy Gillespie in the Disney XD series Kickin' It.
I do not.
He's an actor, comedian, and martial artist. So did not know that. Anyways, and yes, I was too afraid to talk to this girl I had a crush on, and Charles just wanted to get upskirts and boob pics, and we sort of worked out a relationship and became good friends.
Yeah, I mean, this was pre-YouTube. This was pre, like, any sort of video. So it was all in JPEG format, posted on forums, but I still wanted it.
Hey, we all want some upskirts, nip slips, boob flashes, etc., some showering vids. The video quality that the Stiffmeister's getting in this 2005 spy chest gear is remarkable.
It's very good.
It's like 4K. He's getting I don't think my phone takes photos as well as the Stiffmeister's gear.
I mean, he did get it from spychest.com, which is an actual website, and now I think it redirects to spytech.com. But that was a real place where you could buy this shit. And honestly, having a montage where I forget what it starts with, but it's got Good Charlotte playing in the background, which is pretty rockin' music, if you ask me.
Pretty rockin' music. We've gotten some Good Charlotte already in the series, but this was, motivate me. I want to get myself out of that bed. And for me, I went to Jewish summer camp in real life, so that song my counselor played for me a lot. So I want to just point something out here. Listening to that Good Charlotte song, it's a song about like these well-off dorks from Maryland, Good Charlotte, being like, it's a good life, that's what I'm told, but everything, it all just feels the same. And something about the like ludicrous entitlement and privilege of that general sentiment is exactly what this series is all about.
Yeah.
Like life, the Stiffmeister, which is how we'll differentiate, or Stifler 2. We can.
What about? I mean, his name's what? Matt
Stifler. His budget to buy spy equipment.
It had the real price.
Remarkable.
$300 on a hat cam.
And he buys so much shit. And like he's like 17 presumably because he's going into his senior year, right? I don't the family, Stifler's family, and I want to start here. Stifler's family raises so many questions. Now, Stifler's mom, famously, the seemingly undersexed smoke show who keeps smashing it with Finch throughout the first 3 movies.
Wait, why do you think she's undersexed?
Because she keeps hurling herself at a child.
Maybe she wants it. Maybe she's...
I'm saying she clearly wants it. It seems like... Now, we don't...
I didn't get that take.
Aren't divorced, right?
I would say...
We don't really know.
I would say either
We don't know.
We've never seen Stifler's dad, right?
That's the big question I have with this movie.
I think
I'm going to read this when I wrote down. What kind of male role model could create the Stifler brothers?
Well, it seems like he's either dead or abandoned them. I would not say that this is like a. I don't think they live with the father.
I think that they remain married, but he's absent from both their lives and his wife's life, and she is undersexed, thus her constant need to be smashed out by the Finch.
I read this totally differently, and this is, I guess, why we have this podcast, because we both we watch the same thing, the exact same thing, and yet based on what, nurture, maybe nature, who knows? We have different ideas. I think she's not even over. I think she is a perfectly sexed woman who enjoys the penis of all varieties.
But particularly, as she says in the first film, something aged 18 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, she likes an 18-year-old one, but she also might like a 60-year-old one. I don't know that... I think in the same way that, we're chatting, and I might be like, oh, yeah, I like a double IPA. That doesn't mean I dislike a stout. I don't dislike a wild ale fruited with plums, Just because I say one thing once doesn't mean it gets rid of all the other options in my life.
I'm saying she has shown a specific interest in young meat. And you know what? You're right. We can't presume too much beyond that. I guess we all tell ourselves a different story about the Stiflers, the family Stifler.
I think so. I mean, here's the thing is she's only showing interest in young meat in these movies, but it seems like she's specifically driving in her famously, expensive cars to see
Tinted
Finch.
windows, leather interior.
Every time she knows Finch is going to be there. This seems like, you've talked about your trysts in the previous episodes where you might drive to Chicago for some titties. I feel like Stifler's mom was, banging some guy she met at
I said that was a long time ago.
It's all right.
Don't just idly throw that out there, for Christ's sake.
You'll listen. Everyone, if you didn't understand the reference, just listen. Josh was.
Oh Jesus!
It doesn't matter.
Great, thank you, Charles.
I'm just saying,
okay,
she probably was banging somebody she met somewhere else and was like, she gets a call from Stifler, Steven Stifler, and he's like, hey, we're throwing a party and Finch is going to be there. She throws that cock away and drives in her Mercedes.
He wouldn't mention that Finch was going to be there.
He might have.
No, he wouldn't. He's very insecure about Finch and his mom's relationship. Okay, we have to move past this. Here's what we've learned about Steven Stifler. Okay,
yeah.
Steven Stifler has become a softcore porn producer.
My first note is, why did Stifler go from coaching like high school football to the porn
to
industry.
producing. Right. We learn a lot in this movie pretty quickly that kind of blew my mind. So Steven Stifler's become a softcore porn producer, and now there's pressure on Matt Stifler to join, as he calls it, the family business. Now, again, we don't know if this means that the Stifler clan writ large creates softcore pornography, because the pornography, like many of the fantasies in this movie, I find that the sexual acts are a lot crazier than the actual fantasies. The fantasies are all pretty. Like, they seem to imagine seeing boobs. You know what I mean?
Well, when you say
Mostly,
the fantasies, are you talking about just this movie with that masturbation scene, or are you talking like throughout the entire?
We'll get to Matt's masturbation
Yeah.
scene in the room with the shit clogged toilet.
It's a great
and
scene.
It's an important scene in understanding Matt Stifler.
Yeah.
I'm so happy right now. This is great. But yeah, so Steve Stifler's making what looks like kind of classic Girls Gone Wild, which, again, in 2020, it's hysterical to talk about what is a very quaint and wholesome version of pornography.
Does that still exist? It doesn't seem like it should.
It must be like a legacy, like a legacy thing at this point.
Yeah, it's like, it shouldn't exist anymore. It's too wholesome for 2020 porn, I think.
Right. The idea is like, would a young woman flash her breasts on a beach at a party? Yeah, I mean, that's something that happens in society, and I think people are less excited about that as they are in a world where you can summon up the most genuinely upsetting, depraved pornography with almost zero effort.
I've done it many times by accident, just trying to,
I'm sure you have.
find a recipe for something, and I summon it up.
Okay, so Stifler wants to join his older brother and possibly the rest of his family.
Or Stifler.
Matt Stifler wants to join Steven Stifler and possibly other Stiflers. We just don't know.
We do not know. And I like that. This is it. We talked about storytelling before. This is the work. Like, if they went through, had a 20-minute opening montage about the Stiflers and their booming porn industry, snoozer.
I kind of want more. I hope this series dives deeper into the Stifler family, because it's truly a fascinating group of people. Okay, so Stifler in the movie early on, Matt Stifler, excuse me, decides to flex a little dick on the departing seniors by covering the band's instruments in pepper spray, which raised my first question of the film. How was pepper spray used in the world of American Pie? Because in this movie, it's very specific in its impact and effects on people. Namely, he soaks these instruments in pepper spray, but it kind of takes a while for people to notice that they're soaked in pepper spray.
Have you ever been around pepper spray?
I've been tear gassed by the Israeli Defense Force.
Yeah, and I accidentally pepper sprayed myself, basically. Well, it wasn't me doing it, but I was around when someone was like, I don't even remember what happened, but they just sprayed pepper spray in their kitchen sink, either to test it out to make sure it's still working, or even just to see. And it was awful. So it's not what would be anything remotely like spraying something and then 20 minutes later it suddenly starts activating.
Not how it works. Okay, so Matt Stifler gets in big time trouble. Okay, gets in big time trouble for his big prank, and of course it involves pissing off, the unfortunately forgettable Ariel Kebbel's character, the main love interest. What's her name?
Elise?
Yes, Elise. Who
I got one.
I liked Elise a lot. I'm proud of you. You got something right there. So Elise is mad at Matt Stifler. Matt Stifler goes to the guidance counselor.
Wait, you forgot a very important scene.
Okay,
between
please.
That, the first moment of many where we see his bare ass.
That's true. He is trying to wash pepper spray off of his penis in a water fountain, so the whole school sees him what looks like jacking off into a water fountain, bare ass naked.
It's. I'm just gonna say that one of the things I liked about this movie was that it was unafraid. It didn't display the restraint that we've come to know from the American Pie series, which is barely a joke. They are ultimately relatively wholesome films. And from all sex comedies, this has so much cum in it, so much ass in it, and male ass. It's got him literally fucking an instrument. Like, this is it. And we're going to talk about the fantasy scene where he masturbates, but this actually gets into the sex that I've felt so lacking in the previous 3 films.
Wow, we're going to learn a lot about you and Matt Stifler, in this episode. I think the fans are already standing at attention, if you catch my drift.
They do. Their penises are erect. Yeah. Yeah.
You're leaving that to, okay. All of their genitals of whatever genitals they happen to have are soaked, rigid. I don't know. Have fun out there, everybody.
What about assholes? Are the asshole? What's going on there?
Clenched.
Clenched?
Absolutely clenched.
Not open and accepting?
It's not really how that doesn't. They don't just open. Okay, can we get into this later?
I just opened mine. Okay, yeah, let's do it later.
Thank you for that, Charles. So, yes, Matt Stifler, mind you, is sent to the guidance counselor's office. And here we get our first returning all-star. Yes, I speak, of course, of Chris Owen as the Shermanator, who absolutely nails Stifler in a pretty amazing monologue about, like, just how... And Matt Stifler is a vile, unpleasant, charmless asshole. And Shermanator is like, yeah, you and your whole family are just like the worst people in the world. Your brother was hated and despised and a terrible person. And I kind of like, this movie is, I think, supposed to be a comedy, but mostly I found to be quite dramatic because everyone's behavior is very intense. And it's mostly about like what seems like, Jim's dad, who is named Noah Levinson in this film, outright calls Stifler a sociopath, which I loved in this movie. And it's like, Matt Stifler, you're trying to emulate the actions of like someone who feels no compassion or empathy for the world around him. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Joker style coming of age of like a villain, I found.
Yeah, sort of. But unlike the Joker who becomes full villain, by the end of this movie, we get a more believable turn of events, like him finally becoming a good person than happened in American Wedding.
I'm happy that for you found that satisfaction. I mean, I think his behavior in this movie, even at the end, especially at the end, is particularly bizarre and extreme. Like the way he redeems himself is in a absolutely psychotic manner. But we'll get to that later.
We'll get there.
Okay, so Stifler gets in trouble for his big stunt at the senior graduation event because he, again, pepper sprays the orchestra. So the guidance counselor's big Shermanator, his move is like, let's send Stifler to summer camp with the orchestra he has just brutalized with pepper spray.
See, the Shermanator, as we learn later in the movie, is like he's thinking like a chess master. 20 moves ahead, 30 moves ahead, like all the way. He thinks of all the moves. And he knows that there's nothing you can do at band camp other than become a band geek. Fucking Jim was there for, 10 minutes? And immediately transformed him into his band geek self.
Well, hold on. He had to do some sex stuff. He had to get a trumpet put in his butt. It wasn't just like, I don't want you to diminish Jim's experience at Tall Oaks.
I'm just saying that even after the one moment where he accidentally becomes Beatty, he learns so much about himself by just entering the grounds of Twin Oaks.
That's true.
And of course, so much more happens.
I think it's Tall Oaks. I think it's Tall Oaks.
Sorry. I was thinking sort of like Back to the Future, maybe.
I think you're thinking of, Twin Pines Mall.
Yeah.
Or Twin Peaks, the popular series by the one David Lynch.
This didn't happen at Twin Pine Mall?
To the best of my knowledge, this happens mostly in the greater Michigan area.
So I'm just saying, like, the Shermanator, as we find later, and is beautiful. We'll talk about it when we get there, but he knew all along this was going to be a magical, stimulating experience in every way.
We mocked the Shermanator, but indeed, he was a few steps ahead. Again, as his eventual sexual success with Nadja in American Pie 2 shows us, the Shermanator kind of got more right than he has wrong.
Yeah, I think the whole Shermanator bit is wrong. But it keeps working for him. I don't know. It's true.
Hold on. What objectively is wrong about the Shermanator's approach? It leads him to sexual congress with Nadja. It leads him to a job working with young people to set them on the right path.
Wait, you think he went to the job interview with the superintendent of schools and said, this is the Shermanator?
No, I'm not saying he has to actually do the bit every time. But clearly this is the guiding ethos. Though he throws in some Star Trek stuff in this.
I know, that was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like Shermanator, stay in your lane. You're doing great as the Shermanator. Bringing in the Star Trek stuff is ultimately confusing.
Right, because there are scenes in the Terminator. We're referencing a point where he brings out a microphone and is like, Stardate, 2005, blah, blah, blah. But aren't there moments where the main characters of the Terminator series make voice memos for each other? He could have been like, what's her name? The main lady of she makes recordings for her son. Lyndall.
Yeah, Lyndall.
She says, you'll listen to this.
She says Stardate.
No, that's what I'm saying. They could have been like, John Connor,
right,
one day you'll listen to this.
Charles, we're going to wind down. We're going to wind down. This is a reach. Okay. So Matt Stifler gets to band camp and immediately is just an insufferable prick right off the bat. He meets the fancy evil. By the way, the single best thing you can do in a summer camp comedy is have a snooty rich kid camp as the main bad guys. It's just the best genre point. I love it.
Once again, you skipped a very important. I'm just going to keep introducing the things you skip because you skip.
That's fine.
We already sort of talked about it, but he hates this idea. He doesn't want to go to band camp, and then he remembers Jim when he fucked a band person, and even
right. Okay, so.
Well,
even more repellent than Matt Stifler are Matt Stifler's friends. That's an important point.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're like, oh, dude, they're going to be fucking freaks there. And he's like, I don't know if I want to fuck them, but I will pull a Jim.
Film them.
And record them when they don't know about it and then enter into the porn industry. So right off the bat, again, I'm going to bring this back to the last one. There are more stakes introduced in the first 10 minutes of the movie than ever approach in the third movie. And right off the bat, we're like, he has to learn from his mistakes, but he also has a secret plan to not and enter into this business that he wants to be a part of. So bam, we already have 2 storylines that I'm interested in. I'm ready to go.
Well, I think winning the heart of January Jones in American Wedding was pretty big to me, but we're different people, and that's okay.
Yep, but the way he wins the heart, like we're gonna get there in this one. He pretends to be a book nerd. And it's so fake and so flat. And here he's just like is.
I like it though. I like.
I know
it.
you do.
We don't have to revisit that.
Okay. I just really like.
Remember
this
the scene in this movie where Matt Stifler goes, "I used to think my life was an American Pie movie, but now I realize it's an American Pie Presents movie."
Yeah, that was like it was an eye-opening moment for me. It really I wasn't quite sure what to think, and that really wow.
That's when I was like, Ted Hilgenbrink, you my friend, will go far in this industry.
What else did he do?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
You said it kicked off his career, but I don't know that he really got one.
Let's see. Ted, hold on. He played Chance Marquis in The Curiosity of Chance. He played
What's
Tyler
that?
in The Hills Run Red.
He was in Lost Boys That Tried.
He was an epic movie. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Ooh, his career ended in 2009. He had a nice 5-year run. What do you think he's up to now?
I don't know. Drinking?
Can you imagine someone who is a child actor who on Wikipedia has later career section?
I feel bad for him because he was chosen for Matt Stifler due to his resemblance to Sean William Scott, which is maybe not what you want to read in why you were chosen for something. He does play a gay character in 2006's The Curiosity of Chance. And given his sensitive portrayal of a young man finding his sexuality in this film, I would love to see how he tackled that opportunity.
Maybe we'll do it as a bonus.
Maybe we will. Oh my God, the cover of Curiosity of Chance certainly makes me want to do it. Oh boy.
Is that him?
In 1980s Europe, flamboyant and gay 16-year-old Chance Marquis shows up in International High School in a top hat and tails.
The only way he could fit in was to stand out. That's the tagline.
I mean, honestly, Matt Stifler, similar vibe.
So anyway, yeah. So this sets us up. He is ready to go. He's got his ulterior motive. He's got his directive from the Shermanator. They're at odds with each other, and he will find a way to make it through American Pie Presents Bandcamp. See, if this were, we've talked about this before, if this were a daring movie, this is when we get the title card. This is it. When he's gone through all of that, the Shermanator directs him, and he talks to his friends, and it's like, all right, time to go. Boom, cut, slam. We get that stamp. I don't know why American Pie is a stamp. It's like now it has a seal of American Pie.
I think like American grade, American 100% American, like a beef stamp is what I was thinking it's supposed to be a reference to.
Huh, so maybe they originally were going to have him fuck beef, like raw ground chuck.
I feel like that's more realistic, the things people have fucked, ultimately, than an actual pie. I will say they spared no expense in making this film because the title card, the fonts used, really just exquisite.
Are exactly the same.
Yes, they look
as the original movies.
Like we could probably they look way worse, like way worse.
Well, the opening credits titles, they're the same font as the other 3 movies, and honestly, I think it's the same font as Men in Black. I don't know if you
also
picked that
movie
up.
with terrible ultimate opening credits. Okay, we need to keep moving here. So as I said, correctly, I said this out of order, and I apologize to you. I apologize to our listeners. I apologize to Tad Hilgenbrink, and of course, I apologize to the entire new cast of directors, writers, and producers that took over this element of the franchise. The Stiffmeister, Matt Stifler, Stifler 2, goes to Tall Oaks, meets the evil, snooty bad guys from Beechwood, who
Yeah.
are the prep school. They always win. Oh, we hate it so much.
So great.
He, of course, manages to smash some nuts pretty quickly on in the movie. And by the way, Matt Stifler is spouting all of the same witticisms of his older brother, like, call me cowboy and spank my patootie, or like just really awesome shit like that.
Yeah.
He's always like, what's my favorite musical? The Nutcracker. You know, you can kind of get the vibe. Yeah. So he smashes the genitals of this rich kid. And again,
Twice.
God bless him. And this prompts one of the counselors at the camp, who, by the way, I have a lot of questions about the counselors at the camp. We'll get into that later. He says, Holy Mother of Mozart, which is just a great little throwaway. I like that.
It's really good. A lot of little good music gags in this one. Also, do you think this was a $15 million budget?
Which is insane.
Yeah.
How?
So here's
Where did that money go?
I think it went into the instruments.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, there are like
They're
40
playing original Stradivariuses in the entire film. All the pianos are Steinways. Most of the string instruments are several centuries old. It's an impressive commitment.
I mean, everything we learned about Trump's taxes. I mean, this is probably a
it's
similar
so bad
angle.
what the Trump man has done.
Yeah, I feel like art is they probably just plunked $15 million into old, expensive, just to take the loss, and that way.
Okay, you're telling me American Pie Presents: Bandcamp has done more for the American economy than the friggin' president?
No, God, no. I'm saying in the same way that Trump might.
I mean, that was rhetorical. I'm saying it's bad what he's done with taxes. Okay. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad.
It's bad.
It's
orange
bad
what he's
too.
Done.
His taxes were orange.
Yeah,
I've heard.
I'm liking all the tweets where liberals are like, real billionaires think Trump is a doo-doo pants. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's so sick. Billionaires own. They're dunking on that toad, that fucking fat buffoon who's orange. Dude, imagine Bezos and Gates just fucking throwing him down on the fat orange man.
Do you think Apple Boy? Who's Apple Boy? Steve Jobs.
He's dead.
I know, but he's looking down and he's like, "Oh, my biggest regret in life is not to see the newest iOS or whatever actually no, everything that he made is the only thing that Apple still makes. That's weird."
Well, maybe he could further repair his famously damaged relationships in his personal life
with
if he lived
his
longer.
daughter. Yeah, no, I'm saying
that's his daughter with the Woz.
He does not give a fuck about that. He wants to be there with the Elon, the Bezos. He wants to be there to do that scene in Office Space when they kick apart that printer. Except
but the printer is Drumpf.
Is Drumpf, yes, or
wow.
Rump. Yeah, and it's Jobs and the Bezos and.
Hey, can't spell Trump without rump. Okay, so the movie attempts to set up a bit of a gotcha moment where they're like, "Oh no, you got to go see the macro." I'm going to look up what the thing stands for. Yes, the Moral and Conflict Resolution Officer. Is that a real thing?
I don't know. It's a weird...
I went to summer camp. We never had one of those.
It's weird that if it isn't a real thing, why they would spend so much time talking about it.
It doesn't look like a real thing. Anyways, so they're like, "Oh no, you got to go see the macro. I hear he breaks kids like friggin' biscuits. He's a monster of a man." And of course, we get to the office and it's friggin' Jim's dad, Eugene Levy, back up in this movie. Gonna get some Jim's dad. And here we get an exposition dump for the ages.
And you know what it starts with?
What?
Probably my favorite line in the movie is Matt saying, "What are you doing here?" And it's just like the writer he's a fucking genius because he knows that we're all asking the same question. And you know what? A character plucking out my thoughts and saying it on the screen as I'm thinking it, fuck, you can't replicate that. That's when real life enters into the fiction and fiction becomes real.
Right. And Brad Riddell, who's an American screenwriter and professor, who not only wrote American Pie Presents: Bandcamp, but also Road Trip: Beer Pong. Brad has really found a lane for himself.
He's also, he wrote Slapshot: the Junior League.
That's right. Slapshot 3, the Junior League. So Brad really has he's found his lane, and I admire that.
It's Colin.
He's using that MFA in screenwriting from the USC School of Cinematic Arts to great effect, and I admire that.
Wait, what does he teach?
He taught undergraduate courses at SUNY Oswego for 1 year in upstate New York before joining DePaul's School of Cinema and Interactive Media in 2012 after teaching screenwriting at USC for 7 years. And that's what I love about getting a good professor at an expensive school who can point to such credits as Bandcamp Presents, American Pie Presents, Bandcamp, Slapshot 3, the Junior League, Road Trip, Beer Pong, and 2012's Crooked Arrows.
Can you imagine being like, your dad's like, son, I really want you to go to this school. It's really nice. It's got a great campus. The quad is beautiful, but you really must look up this professor who wrote American Pie Presents, Bandcamp, Slapshot 3, the Junior League, and Road Trip, Beer Pong. Like, you're never going to get a better education than this.
Yeah. We do have to, there's so much to cover. This may be our longest episode ever, which I'm excited about.
I mean, we have Fast 7 was quite long.
Okay. Well, okay. So Jim's dad answers the obvious question, why the fuck is he here, by telling us something absolutely jaw-dropping. Michelle is pregnant.
Yes.
So in this direct-to-video spinoff, we find out that one of the, iconic characters from the first 3 movies, his daughter-in-law is pregnant, which is huge. They now have to deliver on that later, which is exciting.
And I'm going to come into a little pause here. This movie did more for its abandoned characters than 3 did. You have a missing Oz, you have a missing everybody, and they don't even fucking mention it. Here it's like a movie that doesn't even need to reference its earlier characters. You got 2 returning cast members, and then they talk about like what Stifler's up to. They talk about what Jim and Alyssa, no, that's the actor's name, Alyssa Hudgens, Michelle, what they're up to.
Alyssa Hudgens? It's Allison Hannigan, you fucking melted brain. You're a regular Joe Biden over there.
I know, I'm getting ready for the debates.
Get excited.
I'm just saying, like, I really felt like this was a part of it.
Yeah. By the way, I love that you've really committed to liking this movie. It's one of your weirder takes. I have no reason to push back on it. I don't care.
I loved it. I gave it
really
2 stars. I loved it.
Wow. All right. Anyway, so Michelle's pregnant, so Jim's dad logically takes his daughter-in-law's summer camp job, as one does.
Incredible.
Just good writing. Brad at his finest.
I cannot wait to hear how he remains involved in this series. Like, if this is the level of detail they're going to apply for him, why he's a band camp counselor. God, what's the next one? The next one's called American Pie Presents
The Naked Mile.
I don't even know what it's about, but I'm excited.
I'm assuming it's running a mile naked, if I had to guess. That's my
guess too.
So, Jim's dad, his job has sweeping responsibilities.
Yeah,
which I found fascinating. As the macro, he gets kind of a lot of shit from his superiors over the course of the movie for like not preventing Stifler from like fucking an oboe, for example. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
the macro's job shouldn't be to monitor masturbation habits. That seems like a big thing to ask of anybody.
So you're saying you should be more like a police officer where they just let the crime happen and then sort of shamble over afterwards?
No, I think he should be like, a weird guidance counselor guy, which is what it looks like his job is. And I will say, when God, what's her name? This is terrible. The main female lead.
Alyssa Hudgens.
That's her name in the movie?
No, that was a callback to the last time I
know,
called
but
someone.
Your melted brain could have actually drawn from something vaguely accurate.
Okay.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
It's Elise.
Okay. When Elise and Matt Stifler get into a fight in his office and he opens the drawer, pulls out the horn, uses the horn, puts the horn back in the drawer and closes the drawer. That was my favorite moment in the entire movie.
It was
really
good.
Excellent.
He's still good. I'm so glad that we have him carrying throughout the next 3 movies. Well, 4,
it makes me
4
movies. Yeah. We're oh my God, we're halfway done with the series with this.
Wow.
It feels heartbreaking.
I think, I don't know. This is like a good sledding, where you get to climb the hill. This is me. I wasn't really prepared for this. I didn't really want to do it, but you convinced me. We walked up the hill in the snow. It was cold. We started going down. It was beautiful. Then you have a little lull. And now we hit that little hump. And I'm hoping it's just going to get into a real raucous ride.
Well, we certainly saw some humping in this movie. So Stifler's roommate is Ernie, who's a little fucking dork who sucks ass, and he's like a little virgin dork, probably Jewish. He vibes pretty Jewish. That's the vibe I got as a Jew. I love this movie really builds out the mythos of Bandcamp, okay? We've got the rookie hats.
Sure.
We've got the long-standing rivalry between East Falls High and the Beechwood Academy, okay?
I took this note, too, that, again, so we already have some pretty big stakes that I'm interested in. a competition, which I don't think it really pans out, unfortunately. The point system, the competition.
Thought it was, okay, no,
but
the point system we have to get into.
We do.
I have so many questions.
Most
about
of my
that.
notes are about the point system, but I'm just saying, like, to have, like, he gets to band camp, and this, we already have things that we're interested in, and yet they introduce another thing: rivalries between schools, point systems, competitions, people daring each other to championship fights to the death with instruments.
That was great. That was awesome. I loved that happened.
Yeah, I think this
here's the thing we
strangely
agree on.
good storytelling.
Well, just way more complex than I possibly could have imagined from American Pie Presents Bandcamp, a movie that is objectively pretty bad. The competition is mostly confusing because it's a hat on a hat, where we know at the end of the summer camp experience, if they win this competition, the director of a Juilliard-like conservatory will give you a big scholarship to this, much celebrated, this much lauded institution. So there's a big competition between the annoying rich kid guy who got his nuts crunched and Alyssa, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Elise.
The somewhat milquetoast love interest of Matt Stifler. That's already, we get that. That's pretty clearly defined stakes.
Yeah, it makes sense. And honestly, it reminded me a lot of High School Musical.
Absolutely. High School Musical 3 has similar stakes.
Yeah.
So my point of confusion that I'm sure you share is that apparently, and I took a lot of notes on this, we're going to jump ahead a little bit here in references. Why does the camp point system include football? It's a band camp, I typed, followed by foam volleyball? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. There's a lot of other things that influence the point system that seem somewhat ancillary to the main objective of Bandcamp.
I think it makes sense.
It's more of a Harry Potter-like system than a normal Bandcamp system.
But I think when you're I never went to summer camp. I went to, like, summer programs. But you actually went to a summer camp where it's not just, like, I guess yours wasn't themed, but even still, you do...
The theme was Judaism and, more to the point, Zionism, mostly.
So did you actually have, like, classes and like,
oh yeah
okay,
Hebrew classes, Israeli education classes.
Okay, but then you also had like canoeing maybe, or playing
archery was popular.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like,
color war was a big deal.
Yeah, your main theme, and then you have ancillary like fun things. And I don't think it's far-fetched to have those other contests, even if they're not unrelated to the main portion of the camp, to still be included. It's sort of like, if you're in a class, you might have quizzes every once in a while, but your main, I don't know.
No, you're being very generous here. It doesn't make sense to rate and evaluate band students on their ability to play foam volleyball. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean,
there's no correlation between the objective purpose of the camp and volleyball. That doesn't make sense. And the foam aspect of it is even stranger.
Well, I would like to posit then, perhaps, even though it was included in the point montage, given how low the score was, then maybe it didn't actually matter. Because after the end of the day, there was like 10 to 15 to 2 to 1 or something.
Well, to me, it felt like then the whole thing was fucked up because in a similarly Harry Potter-like move, it seems like winning the final thing was a Quidditch, like a snitch-like thing where as long as you win that, you basically win, right? I mean, they were up by 5 over the Beechwood Academy at the end, and then lose, spoiler listeners, due to a classic Ipecac mix-up. East Falls High. I love this movie. I take it all back.
Good.
This is a great movie.
I mean, this is actually,
it's bad, but I love loving it.
It's bad, but I think for an American Pie movie, it's good.
So you're saying it cuts off a more achievable piece of leather to chew on than American Wedding?
Yeah, and American Pie too.
That's wild.
I think we have a character who they don't really go into it too much other than brief conversations about their past, but I found the actual relationship between Elise and Matt to be quite nice, where he obviously has liked her for a long time, and yet because of his shitty brother, he has to pretend to be a dick.
Well, my second to last note was, wow, touching finale, followed by, damn, Ernie can blow.
But they mentioned it a lot, where the whole 8th grade thing and how he used to call her Lisi. They have a very interesting, without doing any flashbacks, I get a very strong sense of their relationship throughout their entire adolescence. Well,
it just seems like Matt Stifler has been unrelentingly nightmarish to almost everyone around him for a very long time. And he seems to, even at the climax of this movie where he does like actual sex crimes that led me to type Stifler 2 should be killed, the state should be Stifler 2 should be destroyed by the state. Like, he just gets away with everything, which was really bad.
But so does Stifler. And at least if you're going to have a character who gets away with everything at the end, I think he actually, for the franchise, earns it much more than Stifler ever did. Because all he did was, like, wake up some poor woman in the middle of the night to go beckon flowers, be dragged over to this. Like, he doesn't do anything. In the end of Wedding, he is a dick the entire time, treats JJ like shit, and then just sort of gets it all back because he gets flowers.
Hold on. Stifler, Alpha Stifler 1, Stifler, dare I say Omega? Kind of like the truly the root of all Stiflers.
Well, Omega's the last.
He shows that he's... Okay, whatever. Let's not get into Greek
Alpha
right now. Alpha.
Yeah.
Stifler Mach 1 shows that he can be a part of a team, contribute, fix mistakes he's made, be a member of the team.
How?
Like, I think because he after ruining the flowers, he fixes his problem.
So you're saying the flowers was
responsible.
That was it, just the flowers.
I'm saying the demonstration of using his resources to fix that problem shows that he's capable of growth in some way. Matt Stifler films his peers having sex and is prepared to release that onto some sort of horrific, full pedophilic video market of teens having sex at summer camp that he wants to show to their fellow peers at high school. That is a bad crime.
He deletes it.
It is a bad...
It's terrible crime. Josh, you're excusing Jim, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't see what he did in the first movie as bad at all. In fact, he remains friends with the woman that he abuses. Here, when he sees Elise getting undressed in the shower, he realizes what he's doing is bad. And I'm not excusing his behavior, but the movie is showing you that he understands what he's done is wrong. There's a whole scene where he deletes everything, and he confronts the people that he actually is friends with and says, no, I actually deleted everything because I don't care. You can call me a band dork. Maybe I am a band dork, but I'm not going to do this shit anymore. I'm not going to be your friends.
Well, look, maybe you have a point there, but I'll respond with this. Another note from my exhaustive watching session today. Stifler is a terrible cameraman.
Well, I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I would say a terrible cameraman in that he's a terrible person for planting hidden cameras in showers.
No, but also I think his actual cinematography is shit. Because often, especially when Oscar's hooking up with Charisse next to the campfire, where he has, again, taught his youthful ward to get women drunk before trying to film them naked. Again, Matt Stifler, as one of your favorite characters in cinema, he constantly is taking off some of his equipment to make big, gasping expressions of surprise and delight at seeing breasts. And by the way, Oscar's commitment to consent with Charisse in that scene is beautiful, and his reaction to her boobs is, wow. Which I thought was great.
Yeah, Oscar was great. I mean, when you watch POV porn, it's not just a constantly of half porn, half the guy with the camera going hubba 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 hubba, and then putting his night vision goggles,
hurling the camera up to react loudly. Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay,
it was really bad.
We have to start moving a little faster through this because
I don't,
have
Josh.
a life outside of this. I do. I've been in this room for a long time.
I know, but you just keep mentioning it. How about
because we've so much left to cover.
How about we streamline it without the, you keep saying how much of a rush you are.
You are holding us up more.
It's making me feel a little stressed.
You are holding us up more by commenting on this than by letting me just get to the next point.
I know, but I'm saying next time
with Ernie.
You don't have to mention that you need a rush. You can just move
just
to the next topic. I'm just going to cut it out. Just going to cut it out.
Don't cut any of this out.
I'm just going to cut that out.
I will not schedule something with you for months if you cut anything out from this episode.
Wait, what?
Months. We will grind this to a halt.
Oh my God! You're gonna pull a fucking Congress thing or whatever.
I'm gonna be like Moscow Mitch in the friggin' Senate.
Oh my God!
I hate that guy. He's such an asshat. Okay, Ernie is the milquetoast roommate of Matt Stifler, who Matt Stifler, of course, immediately abuses and tortures psychologically and physically by shoving him into a closet, only later to make you came out of the closet joke, which seems like fish in a barrel, Matt, if I'm being honest.
The gay jokes were
relentless in this.
Relentless, weird, and there's even one where he's says gay in a negative way and then changes it. He's like, oh wait, I can't say that anymore or something.
Steven Stifler is often forced to confront his homophobia, which we know truly to be his xenophobia, his fear of the unknown, his fear to confront things that are foreign to him. And he has to deal with that on a lot of different levels throughout the first three movies, which I think is a whole dimension to Stiflerism that is not covered in this installation of the family Stifler. Anyways, Stifler 2 and Ernie come together over the one thing all men truly want to do, which is prey on women by filming them against their will.
I mean, that's I guess so.
So I want to ask you this. The shower situation at the camp is perplexing, okay? It's a group shower setting with like ribcage high dividers.
Yeah.
Which just, I don't think I have rarely experienced, like, why even have the dividers at a certain point if they're going to stop in the middle of your body?
Well, I mean,
it's already a group shower setting.
Your genitals are in the middle of your body.
But I'm saying if you're standing over a divider that is well below your sight line, it's not actually going to block you from seeing someone's genitals because you're much taller than it. That's how height works, Charles. So I found the shower situation odd.
I did too, until I realized that. Do you think so? They must have gone out of their way to build this.
Yes,
because you're right. There is. It's like Verhoeven at least just didn't have stalls in his version of the show. It's like this would never exist. But I believed in the space that this was a band camp, and it never even occurred to me until now that some set designer was like, "All right, we got to make the completely useless shower stalls."
Right, and then this leads to a second thing. Now, obviously, we do see the counselors whip out those big old tatas, as Matt Stifler calls them, in the showers, as one does. Now, they talk at great length about the implants they've received as summer camp counselors at a band camp.
Mm-hmm.
Breast implants are not inexpensive. They are not, as an elective surgery, they are not covered by most insurance plans. I was fascinated by the camp counselors' backstories. They seem to have money to burn on tit implants. And given that they do almost nothing at the summer camp, this is a huge issue for me. We don't see the counselors do anything other than shower. That's all they seem to be doing. Okay? Okay. All the different individual groups lead their own practice sessions, as we see.
Right.
So what are the counselors doing?
Showering. I got a bit of trivia here.
I've been a counselor. Have you been a counselor?
No, wait. Did you do more than shower, though?
Yes, I'd have to plan sessions. I'd lead
Oh, my
groups.
God.
I had all kinds of responsibilities. These somewhat delinquent counselors are merely discussing what implants they'll get next while examining each other's genitals for a great length.
Yeah. Which ones were they getting next?
I don't know. I guess those who haven't yet gotten the implants are probably getting tips from their friends who have.
Do you want to hear a little bit of trivia? I'm on the IMDb trivia page.
Oh, please. You did a little research, I see.
It's not terribly interesting. Only 0 out of 1 person found this interesting.
So statistically, no one.
That is another way of looking at it. But at minute 44, second 36, when Stifler and his roommate are watching the girls practice in the shower on the hidden camera, the song they are dancing to is Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back.
Right, and I was struck by that before realizing that that was their talent show song, so it makes sense now.
Do you want me to mark that as you found it interesting then?
Yeah, I would appreciate if you, I did find it interesting.
Okay.
Because I knew the song, because they were singing a very popular song.
Yeah, and they were doing a pretty good job.
I was impressed with them, and their dance did, like many high school choreography things we've seen at this show, namely High School Musical, the choreography seemed to be lacking, but they did know the song well, which was good. So Ernie he bonds with his much cooler roommate, the sex criminal Matt Stifler, by showing that he has his own horrific spy cam robot that he's built.
It is
that terrifying. Has bizarre anthropomorphic eyes on stalks jutting out of a Kinect-style body with wheels.
So I would have understood that if it was like a 3D camera, but no, it's just so that you can look at 2 things at once on the same monitor.
It's a little confusing. I didn't really understand how it was controlled. And crucially, later in the film, during the foam volleyball scene, this really got me. Matt Stifler and Ernie are playing volleyball, but we cut to a shot of the robot doing stuff. Who's controlling the robot while they're both playing foam volleyball?
Wait.
I was like, there's a whole other storyline we don't know.
I think this is the Shermanator. Do you think this is like...
Who watches the Watchmen? Is it Shermanator?
Yes.
Is he? Wow.
Or maybe the Shermanator is, I don't know, maybe maybe that's like the T-1000 and he's a different version. I don't know. They probably are from the same future, though.
Yeah, that does scan.
I do like that, what's his name, rips off one of the, or it's probably not ripping off because I'm sure it's a, carefully selection of appendages you can plug in and plug out, whatever you need. He takes out one of the eye cameras and replaces it with a soda dispenser because he thinks that is how he's going to get his penis closer to the other person.
I wanted to address that. I think offering a woman a no fear energy drink with a robot is actually sick as fuck. And the impact of
but
that...
she doesn't know who it is.
Right, but she's like, you're a beautiful lady. Have it, no fear. Don't be afraid. Drink this soda from a robot. And she holds onto the tab and makes a necklace out of it. So
yeah,
clearly
and then later she says metal gets me something.
Yeah, she's aroused by metal. It's kind of confusing. Before we go past this point, I want to just slow this down for a minute. Ernie does confide in Stifler 2 that he wants to be in NASA. And we learn, amazingly, Stifler 2 does not know what NASA is.
That is a great joke. That was honestly a very funny joke that I laughed at.
So Stifler 2 goes, that must be the National Anal Sex Association.
And then the other guy says, no, it's the Space Association.
Yeah. It's one of those classic Brad Riddell back and forth.
Yeah, well, you didn't finish it.
Oh, please, go ahead.
No, that was for you. I said his part. Now it's up to you. You get to say...
I did not memorize the full scene, Charles.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I'm sorry.
He says, like, pros only or something. So Ernie can't be a part of the National Anal Sex Association.
So that means that only professional fuckers can be in the National... Is it still the Aeronautics? No, that's right. The National Anal Sex Association.
No, there's no aeronautics in the Anal Sex Association.
So does...
But professional would mean only sex workers could be in that, if it's truly only pros.
And I mean, that's basically not legal in this country. So it's a pretty illicit group.
A few more things as we move forward. Ernie, so there's the big scene in this movie is that Stifler spikes the slushies at the campfire, and everyone gets drunk, and there's a big scene where all kinds of stuff happens. Matt Stifler fucks an oboe, kind of a callback to, Jim fucking inanimate things, which gives Jim's dad some fun, talking about how his son fucked a pie, which you may recall from American Pie 1. Oscar has sex with Charisse while being filmed by Stifler. This is before the oboe thing. While all this is happening, Ernie gets to have sex with the attractive goth woman who's friends with Elise, and she tells him that she has 6 piercings, and only 2 are on her face, which she implies means that she has 4 genital piercings.
No, it's not 2 on her face. She says not including the ones on my face. I got 2 on my tits.
Right.
And then 4 below the belt.
And again, the age range of this is a little wild, but like if she's like a high schooler, I don't know where she's getting genital piercings.
She has a sternum tattoo and a quarter sleeve.
Well, did you like her body art as a fan of disgracing the temple that is your frame with crude renderings of pagan symbols?
Birds.
All right. Okay, so she's got a lot of genital piercings, and God bless her for it.
But no, it's in the same way that the counselors all have implants. Like the fact that a 16 or 17-year-old would have 4 genital piercings. It's like, what universe does Brad live in?
Yeah.
I actually do not answer that. I do not want to know what universe Brad lives in.
A sex criminal one full of pedophiles. So the movie could not... Did you notice this? There's a version of Jimmy Eat World's The Middle on the soundtrack, but not Jimmy Eat World's version of The Middle, which I found very interesting.
I don't know this musical scene well enough to I keep lying to you every time you're like, whoa, the soundtrack's rip.
They say it's the original version, but it really didn't sound like it.
I do not know. Unfortunately, I know I'm your co-host, but I'm the wrong person to be talking to about Jimmy Eats World.
All right,
is that even the name of the band? Jimmy Eat World?
Jimmy Eat World. Jimmy Eat World. I was wrong. It says it's the original. It sounds weird, so maybe, I don't know.
Maybe it's slowed down a little bit.
Leave that silence in for exactly as long as... Okay, wow. Maybe it slowed down a little bit. That was the best thing you've ever done on the podcast, and no, it wasn't slowed down.
Hey, you know what? I ate peanut butter before this record.
Uh-oh.
I'm doing good, and I'm coming up with fucking zingers like that. My commitment is back, sir. My commitment.
I'm confused as to why... Oh, so just the maximum number of mouth smacks and horrible clicking noises from your face hole?
Yeah, normally when I eat peanut butter, it makes me like phlegmy and I cough and smack. Yeah, but not today because my commitment is stronger than the peanut butter was. Peanut butter is fucking
But you still
down.
ate the peanut butter, which still violated the
general
premise.
I was like, I'm a little hungry, a little hungo, but I didn't really want, it's 5:30,
Yeah.
I was ready for a snack. And peanut butter is a great snack.
Peanut butter is a great snack. I entirely agree.
That's one thing that was weird. They didn't. Maybe there's just an allergy rule, but no one ate peanut butter at band camp. I feel like that would have been like a staple.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
I mean, sure, yeah, I would.
Okay, so let's see. We don't need to.
Yeah, this episode, I think it would have been just as smooth had you not deliberately gone through each of your notes, because there's, we could have fluidly gone through this. I mean,
we're moving all over the place.
I'm talking about a commitment to good podcasting.
Around,
yeah, but you keep mentioning okay, I'm now reading this note. Oh, we must move on. I have this note to talk about. I'm committed to good podcasting. What are you doing?
I'm drawing on the work and effort that I put into this presentation.
Right, but you're the kind of presenter that they have a PowerPoint and you just read off the PowerPoint. Or good
That's
PowerPoint.
Not true at all. You don't know what I'm doing with these fucking notes. You have no idea the kind of jazz that I'm playing over here, baby. I'm going all over the place. I'm like Ernie. I'm honking on Bobo.
Yeah, he's good at honking.
He is good at honking. Okay, so can we
please talk about the jack-off scene? Because basically...
that's next to my fucking list. Can you stop being such a baby? Just stop for a minute.
Talk about the jack-off scene.
Okay, so Matt Stifler wants to get revenge on the mean snobs who are rich kids. No, we hate them. They're bad.
No, you didn't say why. In an earlier scene, the rich kid filled a grape soda can filled with cum.
No, that's not what happened. Now you're the one getting things all fucked up. Later in the movie, Matt Stifler puts Ipecac in the grape drink, which is supposed to go to Beechwood, but Oscar and the hip-hop Asian kid switch the grape and the orange.
No, so I'm saying the introduction of Ipecac was because he drank the rich kid's cum.
No, the rich kid spit, you fucking...
Oh, spit. I'm sorry.
They drained all of their brass instruments into a can of soda.
That's right.
I hated this. It was
repulsive.
Gross out stuff.
I think I already blocked it out, and I just replaced it with cum because cum is much more,
Isn't
nice
that weird?
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Stifler's furious. He had to drink a big can full of spit. It's the classic American Pie thing where people will chug 2/3 of something before realizing what it is, which is just classic. So to get revenge,
the reality of the first one is the most, where Stifler, when he drinks the cum beer, it's almost instant that he realizes something is wrong.
Right, because when he's chugging John Cho's piss in two, there's a bit of a... Right.
After that, everything is just... That's the humor is in the delay.
Timing. That's the most important thing about comedy. So Stifler is mad at the Beechwood kids. So he does what, honestly, a pretty classic kind of revenge that I can't put it past him. This is a winner. He decides he's going to jack off in their sunscreen, or as he calls it later, SPF 69, which I liked. I'm going to hold on to that.
I like that joke.
So we get a great scene, and you've been dying to talk about this, but Stifler, I'll set it up for you, grabs Ernie actually crawls through the bushes to steal the sunscreen, gives it to Matt Stifler, who runs off to a bathroom stall to jack off into it. And Charles, take it away. Paint a picture for us. What's the situation Matt finds himself in to jack off into the sunscreen?
Well, I don't have to work too hard because I'm sure all of our listeners, they're all cineasts. They all have seen Danny Boyle's Train Spotting.
I thought you were going to mention that they've seen this movie because I think there's a few Sight and Sound polls that include...
I hope so.
I think Agnes Varda, her last list before she died, included American Pie presents : Bandcamp.
Included in what? We're not sure. But she talked about
Top 10 movies ever made.
And it's also American Pie presents The Naked Mile. American Pie presents The Book of Eli.
Yeah, controversially, The Book of Eli. Yeah, Denzel Washington
is roaming around in a bus
trying to see tits.
Denzel, he's a perfect man for the job. Yeah, you've all seen Train Spotting, and the worst toilet in Scotland I think they just used the same actor to be the worst toilet in Twin Pines Bandcamp.
Tall Oaks Bandcamp. Once again, Twin Pines Mall is from Back to the Future. I believe it's Andy Serkis who plays both toilets in a motion capture performance, and this toilet is very awful. To give them credit, there's someone shitting next to him in the other stall. He goes into the out of order toilet to jack off, and it is a truly repellent situation. There's turds, there's murky water. It sucks.
It looks good. It wasn't like overboard turd. It was. I think Danny Boyle might have spiced things up a little bit more than reality would have allowed for, especially given that what's his name dives right into it. That doesn't happen here.
Director Steve Rash chooses to stick to the veracity of Brad Riddell's script and makes it a very believable bad toilet.
Yeah, and so we can imagine the stench It doesn't go into it too much. We just know it's there, and yet he continues. Either he has incredible aim or a pencil-thin penis, because that sunscreen opening is like tiny. But he knows he can...
The urethra remains the same size generally across most penises, so it doesn't really matter. He's probably only really has to get the urethra into the hole. I don't think he has to stick his dick into the sunscreen.
That's true, but it's still
a bit
lining,
much, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's sort of... It just seems like... I mean, I guess I'll have to try it.
Hey, if you're listening at home and you're interested in this, stay tuned. Charles will report back behind the Patreon wall. Let's keep it for that.
Okay. He does already know. I mean, we know that his penis fits in an oboe, and I haven't seen an oboe in years, but it doesn't seem to be particularly
I think
large.
Not a famously girthy instrument.
Yeah.
But regardless, now that you've mentioned oboe, we should get to it. Matt Stifler fights through the doubtless noxious scent of this horrific bathroom to get some Stifler juice out. What goes through his mind whilst he strokes the one-eyed snake?
And this is a strangely exciting scene to having been included in this movie, which is pretty dull and drab. Like it's not very inventive in terms of what it shows on the camera. It's just, it seems like a very direct-to-DVD style movie where you just have actors doing their thing. And here we cut to a psychedelic background with ladies dancing. And then it just sort of...
Well, in Halloween-style sexy outfits.
Yeah. And we have the woman that he wants to fuck from the first scene, one of his friends from school that hate band dorks.
Adrian, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, and then we also have the double D, what's her name, who
Charisse, who had sex with Oscar. And
then, in a bit of storytelling, maybe Paul Thomas Anderson could have pulled this off, or another, Rash here is on par with a true cinema master, where he allows for storytelling to continue because he conjures up the image of Elise. And at first he's repulsed, but then seconds later he's like, oh, I'll just keep stroking it.
I think Charlie Kaufman did a pass at this script.
Okay, that makes sense. Like this scene, I think maybe sort of like the Tarantino scene in Sin City. Maybe that was Kaufman only. Anyway, I don't know. It could have been Tarantino himself. And then it cuts to the girl that falls over sometimes, and then it cuts to the oboe. And he's just jacking it the whole time. And this is... I don't know if this is when you're jacking it and you're not looking at porn, do you cycle through things like this, or do you stick to one thing and fulfill to completion through the one fantasy?
I think it's like a moving target. You got to keep up with your interests. Things change. It's a fluid situation, if you'll pardon the pun.
I will. Yeah, and it was. I thought it was fun. It was funny, and it told me everything I need to know about Matt Stifler and the way that he comes to climax.
I guess I did admire ultimately that the Stiflers are sexually adventurous people.
Yeah.
And I like that he's not he has a lot of issues and bigotry to deal with in his life, but he's not really these admittedly bizarre things jump into mind. And, God bless him for it. He gets to completion. He comes into he successfully finishes into the...
Fills it up.
Well, he could have just gotten some and then shaken it up. I don't think he filled it up.
I hope he filled it.
Well,
God, I hope he filled it.
I'm happy that you're holding on to that.
But to your point
belief
about his character and the Stifler family at large, I find the younger brother to be a very I sort of understand why he this scene is really drawn out and unnecessary, and it is more sexual than anything that, as we've talked about, Steven Stifler does until he fucks the grandmother. And I just like that this movie fucks. This movie fucks. The other three don't.
Did you like how much Stifler too yelled in that scene?
Yeah. And can you imagine being the poor man shitting next to him as this kid jacks off next to you?
Yeah, and I don't want to boast. I've jacked off plenty of times, but I've almost never yelled while doing it.
Never make a noise.
I think usually in our society, one tries to be somewhat discreet when masturbating in a public toilet, but Matt Stifler is not held back by that kind of demand.
No, he breaks all the rules.
He really does.
Loses him 5 points, 5 Gryffindor points.
Right. So we're moving, fast and loose here. We're having a good time.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Sure thing.
I like to know the pace.
Shut up. He manages to offend Elise just when they're getting close with each other. He decides to try to prove that he's cool to the cool kids at high school who come to camp, the cheerleaders, of course, to learn to dance to Elise's composition. That's when it becomes clear that he has been filming people at the camp having sex at a high school band camp. And everyone's like, you're a fucking dog shit human. Fuck you, dude. Fuck off. No one wants to see you ever again. You're awful. And when he lets down Ernie, I was pretty heartbroken.
Yeah. And Oscar, like, is going to kill him.
And for good reason.
Yes, it's like a believable... Like, he sucks. And it was much... Like, I think that Jimbo deserved that response when he filmed Nadia, and I feel like Stifler deserved that response. Maybe not that. No, he doesn't really do much criminal shit.
Stifler's more like a huge asshole. He didn't make a sex tape of teens having sex.
No,
like in
but
2020,
Jimbo did.
if you did this, you would be drowned in public. They would take you somewhere and drown you,
or elect
and people would clap.
President of the United States of America.
Oh God, the orange buffoon! Don't get me started.
I won't.
Okay, so everyone's mad at Stifler 2. Stifler 2 decides to redeem himself, as only Stifler 2 can, by pouring Ipecac into the grape drink of Beechwood Academy to ruin their big presentation at the big final at the summer camp. You know, oh, look at us. Only 5 points separate them. If they win, they win. Whatever.
Yeah, it's hosted by Drew Carey.
Of course, Drew Carey's there. In a scene that is both genuinely kind of racist and weirdly winning, because it gives Oscar and the hip-hop Asian kid some shit to do. They show up to the drinks area and are, mad to see Stifler 2, who they chase off, and then are like, you know what? This sucks. We always get orange drink. We want purple drink. We want grape juice, not orange juice.
Grape soda.
So,
and also,
whatever.
all of them were clear. It was very strange.
Well, I wrote that down. I wrote the grape drink is clearly clear.
And so is orange.
Yeah, they're all clear. It's bullshit.
What a weird... You think they spent $15 million on instruments and then couldn't spend, $30 on 2 liters of grape soda, orange soda?
I mean, I guarantee you it's because they didn't want to stain the uniforms. That's 100% the reason that's the case.
Stain the uniforms? Do they get it on the...
You're shooting a scene... That's the whole thing. You're making a movie. Everything costs money. They're wearing fancy uniforms they probably don't want to replace or deal with. They didn't want to get them stained, so all the juice is indeed clear. That's my guess.
It should have just been nothing. They should have mimed it. Should have been like pouring out and then give it a little swirl. I'm doing it right now.
Some actors need that veritas of holding actual liquid in a little Dixie cup, as the great Ariel Kidel clearly needed. Kittle, maybe, I'm not sure, needed to pull off the je ne sais quoi of Elise.
So do you think they were all drinking it when they slugged it back and cheered?
Who's to say, Charles?
Could it have been empty cups? That's the beauty of acting.
Certainly, as we see in great detail, has a devastating impact on East Falls High.
Blech.
There is purple vomit, brown vomit. People are just puking right and left, and everyone's very upset. It looked kind of like Lucky Charms or something. Everyone's furious. And what I thought was a genuinely interesting thing, they just lose, and that's it.
Yes, and that's
the end of summer camp. They lose.
There's
nothing
that.
else. Stifler ruins their summer. He ruins her chance to get the scholarship. He just not only is a sex criminal who should be killed, is like a monstrous idiot whose terrible decisions have like really impacted people's lives. It sucks.
I really liked that she does win in the end, but it isn't really related to this anymore. It's a whole new story. And the fact that they don't, like, in fucking Harry Potter, they're always losing, and then Neville fucking does something with his frog, and Dumbledore's like, 10 points for the weird kid, and then they win. But here they fucking lose. There's no saving them. Like, they just vomit all over the field. They don't get to do anything. They have a
humiliating failure. It just is like the worst possible way to lose anything.
Rich kid gets the trophy, gets the scholarship, which he doesn't need. It was a Stark ending.
Right. So much like the Stark family in Game of Thrones, they always die bad except for the kid who gets dragged around by the oaf. So we go back to high school, and in an unconscionable move, a move that defies all logic, the Shermanator praises Matt Stifler for his behavior at summer camp and allows him to graduate. This is unthinkable.
But again, this is the Shermanator's thinking moves ahead. Yes, if you were the guidance counselor, you'd see a sex criminal that is deserved of being thrown into the fire.
Matt Stifler poisoned his fellow campmates, filmed them performing sex acts, physically assaulted people, said unbelievably hurtful, homophobic, bigoted things, is bad at being in band, was kicked out of the final event. Almost every conceivable metric of his behavior was horrific.
He doesn't wear the hat, Josh. You forgot about the hat thing.
Oh, before we forget that, earlier in the movie, and this is very important, Stifler, too, shoves his rookie beanie into his pants and then gives it back to Ernie. And Ernie smells the beanie and is just disgusted by it. So from this we learn Stifler 2's junk smells terrible.
He's not even that disgusted by it. It's just sort of a mild
He's resigned. I think like he's just resigned to abuse in his life. So
what I found weird was that he flips it inside out to wear. But how does he know? To me, it seemed like he put the outside on his dick. So my question was, do you think Ernie? It seemed like a half-hearted meh. So I'm wondering if Ernie might be a little freak and likes that Stifler junk, and he likes
that musk. Yeah.
Yeah. So he likes the musk, and then he flips it inside out to get that musk in his hair.
Well, pheromones are pheromones. So, power to you, Ernie.
They are roommates. We love you. He probably gets used to it.
Yeah. Maybe he associates the sexual promiscuity of Stifler 2 with the rich tapestry of his pheromones. Anyway, so Stifler sort of learns his lesson and goes, all right, I'm going to delete all these videos. When my genuinely nightmare evil jock friends badger me about showing this, I'm like, no, guys, I'm not joining the family business. And then we get this little coda where Stifler 2 performs his act of redemption.
But before we get there, I do want to say that I think it's a bad call to have the plot arc showing his problem be a really bad sex crime where he's filming people. But I do think his journey is, if you're just talking about the emotional arc of Stifler 2, it's about a kid who wants to be good, and he just is forced to be bad, and this is his moment where he gets to change.
That's very generous of you. I don't think we actually see any of that in the movie. I think they try to sort of lead a breadcrumb of towards that emotional revelation, but he is genuinely a horrible person.
I don't
really
know,
unapologetic.
See, this is what I didn't like about the third one, was that Stifler, the whole thing is like him pretending to be good to fuck someone. It's very similar
it's January Jones.
Right,
Show some respect. Jesus God.
It's very similar to Stifler 2 pretending to like the band kids, but very quickly he actually starts liking the band kids, where Stifler never actually becomes the fake thing that's the good thing. And this is why I actually think this is a much better movie than 3, because the actual arc is about a person that for years has been doing something that he doesn't want to do, and it takes him doing the thing that he's been avoiding his whole life to see that he actually does want to change. And this is what I was saying. The Shermanator does see moves ahead. He does, yes, see a sexual, deviant, but 30 moves ahead, he sees someone that actually has changed and isn't going to do that anymore and is looking to be a better person and a better band geek. In the same way that Jim does. You fucking let Jim off the hook. He's basically the same thing.
Jim is more of a cowardly doofus who's forced into situations by his own cowardice, as opposed to the active mind behind the scheming, which to me does feel like somewhat of a point of demarcation between the two.
Yes, but my point is that this is actually an interesting story of someone who's been bullied and beaten down by his family, by his friends, to be something that he isn't. And he courageously takes the step towards being a band geek, where Jim just accidentally does the dumb bullshit and then accidentally becomes a band geek. And it's a flat line. Fucking Stiffmeister.
So let's get to it. So Stiffmeister 2 has a beautiful redemption arc where, of course, by deceiving, as you do with women, he deceives his love interest into going to the famous conservatory. And she gets a nice bit of little physical comedy in there. And it made me feel like Ariel Cadell was sort of cheated, because she's actually quite funny. But she realizes that her letter to go to meet with the leader of the conservatory is in fact a fake. She leaves and in anger sees Stifler 2 and is like, you piece of shit, you've tricked me, you cruel. And then she realizes he's brought the whole band together and they're playing her composition.
It was lovely.
And the friggin' doctor, Dr. Choi, I want to say, comes out and is like, this fucking owns. It's baller as fuck. And that rich kid, guess what? Plagiarism. Now you can have the friggin' scholarship.
Oh, and then they kiss.
It is pretty beautiful. It is like a weirdly, again, I found the tone of this movie to be a lot darker than the first three, but the resolution a lot more satisfying.
I found it to be darker. I found it to be more, everything felt more important than any of the other three movies. And but here's the thing.
That is an insane thing to say.
No, it's not.
I love it. It is. I love that you're doing it. It's just, it's very wild.
I think the unimportance works in the first one because it's about a bunch of boys learning how to be better boys. And if it were like rubbing in your face how they were bad boys to begin with, it would have been worse. It's the fact that they're fine boys.
This is not a bad boys movie. We already covered that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Lowercase b, bad boys.
Oh, okay.
Not police officers. But the four boys in the first one, they're fine boys. They're scared boys. They're virgin boys. And they learn how to be almost men. And it's good. It's good that it's unimportant. It's good that it's lowercase. And then I think they really try to amp things up in both 2 and 3 in some ways. And this is the most dark, the most like scary in some ways, the most like rubbing it in your face. But I think it really, I don't know. I felt captivated by all the choices that Brad and Rash made. And overall, it's a bad movie, I think. But for an American Pie movie, it's a good movie. And I think it might even be, I have to rewatch the first one, but I think this might be my favorite so far.
I mean, that's a wild take. This is easily my least favorite so far, though I admire that this has inspired something in you. Now, let's close out the episode. We've gone a good 80 minutes on
so
American Pie,
you're telling me
Bandcamp.
the beats here, that we're now done with the synopsis, done with the analysis, and are ready to close up the
episode. Why
is
it better for you to underscore this than it is for me to transition us into a new segment of the podcast?
I think that they're both good, and I'm pointing out how good you're being, because you're being very good, and I think it's also good when I tell you that you're good.
So you're in your home, in your basement, by your couch that I've slept on. I am in my office, where I've been for some time. So yes, we are transitioning to the end. Let's start with MVPs. No brainer. Eugene Levy fucking is the best. If he wasn't in this movie to grant his elegance and his grace and to give us those reaction shots of young men's genitals and various odd orifices, I think this would be a lot worse. And I love that he shows up. It is inexplicable and delightful. And he weaves a dream over us. And I would want to sleep and live in that dream forever.
I liked Eugene Levy. I think this is my second favorite Eugene Levy performance of the 4 movies. Again, after 1, though he's very good in 3 too. He's solid. I think maybe some of the lines didn't work quite as well as earlier movies, but he's still there, and I love that. I love his intro. Like, I didn't see it coming. I did not know that he was the macro, and when he's in there in the macro office, mwah. But I'm not going to give him my MVP. I honestly think that. What's weird is I do think that Tad and Ariel both did great jobs playing Matt and Elise, but also the guy who is 30 years old in the making of this movie and still pulls off being a band geek is Oliver. I felt everything that he went through, like his hatred.
Do you mean Oscar?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is he's not
your big pick is the guy. You don't know his name.
He's not credited.
Yes, he is. Omar Benson Miller plays Oscar. Also, they call him Oscar repeatedly.
Wait, where do you see? I'm on IMDb.
Cast Omar Benson Miller as Oscar. I'm on Wikipedia. They also call him Oscar a lot.
But it says uncredited. Uncredited. He's not in the credits.
I mean, that's demonstrably not true. He is in the credits. I'm looking at them.
No, but he's on the IMDb credits. He wasn't actually credited in the movie.
What are you talking about? Of course he was credited.
Anyway, I'll have to look into that. I'll send a screen cap to you. But he ruled. Oscar is great. He's my MVP.
Oscar was great. So let me ask the obvious question. Are you at this point, knowing that you have just declared the direct-to-video American Pie presents Bandcamp, are you asking when will it end?
I mean, I've done this before where when it reaches the apex, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want it to go on because it can't get better than this. But I think it's going to get better than this, and I'm not asking when will it end.
Wow.
I'm excited. I thought I was going to hate all these dumb movies, and I've liked some of them. Yeah, that's what happened.
I'm on the same page. American Pie is really a story about us. This is us. This is America. And watching it go from strength to strength has been fascinating. There was so much to dig into psychologically and sexually in this movie. And I have to admit something to you. I have sort of cheated for the first time on the podcast. I looked at the synopsis of the next movie, not the plot details. Well, yes, the plot details. The second movie in the direct-to-DVD run, we're going to meet Father of Stifler.
Whoa!
Which is going to answer so many questions for me.
I'm glad you did that because we're done with the episode. You know, this is the epilogue, if you will. We finally moved on.
Sure.
And I think it's fine. We could take a little sneak peek. And we had so many questions about the Stifler family, and
right.
I'm ecstatic that we're going to meet the Papa. This is going to be great.
And interestingly, we're going to now meet another Stifler son. We're done with Matt.
Wait, what?
Goodbye, Matt. Matt is gone.
So confusing.
We're about to meet John White starring as Eric Stifler, who I believe settles in for the next 2 movies. So
is Eric the father or the son?
No, sorry, he's a cousin of Stephen Matz.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, never mind. So we're not meeting, never mind. We're meeting Uncle of Stifler. We're meeting Uncle of Stifler.
Okay.
My bad.
I mean,
sorry, everybody. Sorry. I got too excited.
I guess that means that we can only hope that one day, perhaps in Beta House, perhaps in
No,
Book
Beta
of
House
Eli.
also features Naked Mile, and Beta House both feature Eric Stifler as the main Stifler. So,
well, then perhaps in Book of Love. That's what it's called. Book of Love will be...
Yes, which we can only hope features the great Casey Affleck. The part of the series that has aged the worst. Okay, so we're going to end this episode as we do many. We're going to share some of our favorite lines from American Pie Presents: Bandcamp. And this, I think in a lot of ways, this direct-to-video movie gave us a lot to ruminate on as we go about our lives. And I want to share, do you have one picked for you? Because I have a couple I thought might be good.
I mean, I already did go through the space one. I really liked that one. But yeah, I don't. I don't think that there was really, I don't like the lines in this movie.
Okay, so we'll close the episode on this line from Matt Stifler, again written by Brad Riddell. Seek out his knowledge and let him drink deeply from his vessel of screenwriting prowess. Matt Stifler, this is from the IMDb quotes page. Bite my nuts and call me Skippy. All right, we'll see you next week for American Pie Presents: The Naked Mile.